Being raised as a Quaker has had, I think, a lot to do with my ability to listen to dreams and my interest in them. I mean, it had something to do with my Quaker mother and Quaker grandmother, that I grew up in a kind of listening household, spiritually listening, growing up sitting in silence, listening for the inward teacher, um, trusting that there is one, and seeing from the people around me that as you do that listening, important things happen, good things happen. So that gave me a real friendliness towards my inner life and a habit of listening for it. So all of that played into dreaming, being in love with dreams. Yeah. So I've been interested, I think, all my life, but the first dream I really worked was when I was 17. I was in uh, the Canadian woods in the little Quaker school, Argenta Friends School. And a friend of mine who was a little bit older, not in the school, asked me to tell her a dream in which, and I mean, I told her a dream. And in that dream, I was jumping across a stream. I was leading my siblings. I have 3 siblings, and we were all jumping across a stream. And because I was the oldest, I had to go first. And I landed in the mud on the other side of the stream. And my friend said, "Wow, I know what that dream is about. Your parents are getting a divorce, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, it's your job as the oldest child to lead the way through that for your family and for your siblings. And because you're the oldest, it's the hardest, and you land in the mud. The others will have an easier time." But um, it it was such a revelation to me that she could see what was in my dream, and that dreams could be, that they meant something, right? And that they could be cracked open like that, and that it was useful. I could feel it in my body that, oh, this is useful information, helpful for understanding how I'm feeling. So, it's the light's been on ever since. Paying attention to dreams has been a key way of listening and following my leadings. I mean, currently my big leading is to talk to people about how dreams can help with the climate change crisis, the poly crisis, right? The overlapping environmental and justice and the global crises, because I really think they can be so helpful. And so I've had, dreams that specifically have encouraged me to do that, to talk to people about that. And for instance, about 7 years ago, I had a dream called How to Make Change in the World. So this was just a general activism dream, not specifically about the crisis in this moment, which I'm also dreaming about. But in this dream, I was standing on a cliff overlooking the Columbia River and the the Dalles Dam. There's several big dams on the Columbia. And we're looking at this dam, and I'm telling him, only we're talking about how to make change in the world. And I said, it just takes 2 things. First, you sit still, and then you figure out what you love. And then you can do anything. Once you've done that, you can do anything. You can bring down a dam. Mm. And he says, nah. And I say, yeah. And I point to this little person that we can see down there, and it's barely visible, this person next to this giant concrete dam. And I say, because the person is alive and the dam is dead. And I could see it energetically in that moment. I could see the life force of the person was in a totally other category from what was keeping the dam in place, from the deadness of the dam. There was no contest. So that dream was a really helpful as a sort of ground for talking about activism and knowing my own leadings. This is the opposite of racing around afraid, right? Looking at things that all the scary things and trying to get in the way. Real power comes now. That's so Quaker, right? Comes from sitting still, and you might have to sit still for a while before you get to the place that is not afraid. But it's what you really love that's going to give you the power. And so what I love is a good conversation. And I also love the sense of being helped and held and loved, and the conversation with the intelligence of my dreams. I love that. So combining those into my own little mission of encouraging people to talk to each other about their dreams and recovering this indigenous skill. Basically, all our ancestors always did this, and we know how. So that's what I love, and I don't have to go to a march. I have, but this is mine to do. But the main messages, I think I've already covered talking to you about sit still, brotherly love, bigger versions of ourselves, however that happens. Allow ourselves to be stretched. Get out of our comfort zone. Lean in the direction of awe. That might mean going outside, lying down in the grass, going out in the night sky. Growth is a slow process, but I think one of the, we're in a pressure cooker evolutionarily right now, and we are being asked to change. And I love the Rumi quote, because of a necessity, man acquires organs. Therefore, necessitous one, increase your need. Mm-hmm. And I think, the forces of evolution or whatever, we have increased our need big time. And therefore, we get to develop some new organs. And maybe they're organs of connection, capacity for love,